Welcome back. I'm Tyler, you're watching Scarfing Scarves, and welcome to the 41st installment of Last Week Lolita News. At the top of the segment, this will be the final installment before the end of 2018. I hope all of you have recovered from your hangovers by the time you see this in the new year, and those who promised to eat healthy should prepare to be disappointed because Angelic Pretties released pictures of all the things, and this spring's cleaning is going to be more about decluttering your bank account than spending fruitless currency on vegetables that will sit in your refrigerator until they develop their own space program. Opening your fridge shouldn't lead to new scientific discoveries, and it's better not to experience the broccoli flying past your skull in search of sentient life on other counters. To remind you why you'll be living on ramen for the foreseeable future, those new releases include Fruity Lemon, Fancy Candies, Fleur Cat, Jewelry Aquarium, Strawberry Doll, Unbirthday, Magical Horoscope, Be My Valentine, The Garden of Angels, some random stuff that doesn't matter because there aren't any prints, and the single-handedly most tacky creation ever coughed up by a brand that thought radioactive cupcakes were an acceptable aesthetic. It's supposed to be called Flower Egg Garden. It's even worse up close, and I don't know if I want to hate fuck it or develop the same Stockholm syndrome that led me to buying Wrapping Heart. That disturbing collection of words aside, Innocent World will soon be releasing a clock print. It actually looks pretty cool, and the astrology signs included should provide good small talk as you figure out if the person you're speaking with has based their entire personality on whether or not their celestial scribble says they're going to get hit by a Greyhound bus. Take more walks could mean through a busy street. Wishful thinking, but Mercury being in retrograde has to mean something, otherwise the next time someone asks, "Hey girl, what's your sign?" your response will be, "No outlet will lead to Bob and Vagine." Moving on, as the Lolita community is still too schlammered to stir the pot, everyone else is still hungover, and I don't have the patience to pick out petty fights between whether or not a community overwhelmingly populated by women can be addressed with, "Hey ladies," without it becoming a pedantic pain in the ass. We turn towards Last Week Lolita News, next special segment. A list of things that this reporter has tabulated from the community's collective intentions, doused in salt, and regurgitated in a manner which experts swear is entirely unnecessary. You're better off not listening to any of this, but for those of you still too soused to find the pause button, I welcome you to Lolita Fashion New Year's Resolutions. Getting things rolling with perhaps one of the most popular, New Year's resolution number 1, buy more blouses. I know this may come as a surprise, but one sad blouse and a peignoir you stole out of your grandmother's closet does not count as a wardrobe. You will need to spend money on appropriate pieces, and while I feel your collective pain at the thought of handing over your hard-earned cash on a garment that has the absolute audacity of featuring 0 ponies while costing half as much as a dress that does, it will be money well spent when the resulting cord doesn't look like you framed the Mona Lisa with particle board or the Lolita equivalent of repurposing an office blouse because you can't be bothered to wear anything not drenched in rat race desperation and a deep-seated hatred for Karen in Cubicle 3. Fuck that lady for reheating fish in the microwave, and frack the lot of you if you think you will survive in this fashion with 2 blouses and office shoes you bedazzled in the midst of an existential crisis. Buying more wardrobe basics will help you with the next bit. New Year's resolution number 2, wear Lolita more often. Otherwise known as actually putting on the clothes we've collectively blown half a kidney on to acquire. Wearing Lolita more often is a grand resolution right up until you realize it involves going outside. My sources have told me this is where the people are. Ariel didn't know what she was getting into, and given that running around in any public space in this fashion involves an obstacle course of "Are you in a play?" and enough wandering hands to make you want to run a live current through your petticoat, it's no small order to wear this fashion without actively considering whether surprise electroshock would count as assault. The answer is probably, but all negativity aside, it's a noble goal to take one for the team and do your part both to enjoy this absurd display of femininity and let the wider world see that there are options outside of the outfit equivalent of 50 Ambien and a boot to the head. As much of a pain in the ass as this fashion can be to put on, once you've gone through the gambit of layering on enough fluff to assert your dominance and gotten out the door, the actual feeling of wearing something so in line with your aesthetics can only be described as fun. I hate to go all sincere on you guys, but if you're ever having trouble wearing this fashion more because of the time it takes to put together, something that works for me is to focus on the fun I have once it's all on. Because it is fun. Even if you're just going to the cafe or doing a bit of shopping for yourself, it helps to remember what drew you to this fashion in the first place. You wanted to wear it. It's called street fashion for a reason, and given that that's where you'll be living after purchasing your umpteenth main piece against all reason, you should probably familiarize yourself with some comfortable looking alleyways, because New Year's resolution number 3 is not to rip any more space holes in your bank account. Also known as stop buying so many things just because they're on sale, be more financially responsible, or insert other completely unrealistic expectation that will crumble as soon as some Japanese brand pastes a cat to a skirt. A more reasonable goal for 2019 might go, maybe try to save up for what you actually want, always have ramen in stock, and if all else fails, at least you'll be the most fabulous hobo-lita ever to fight over a shopping cart in the middle of a poorly lit parking lot. That or exercise an ounce of self-restraint, but that's the saddest joke in this entire installment. Which brings us to our final contender and New Year's resolution number 4, go to more meetups. I know I've already covered actually leaving your house to wear this fashion, but the thing that sets going to more meetups separate and apart from simply wearing it outside is the sense of community and sharing time with people who also love this fashion enough to bear with 50 questions and a stern talking to over whether or not they've ruined their prospects for marriage because no man will want to marry a woman that looks like a sentient wedding cake with a butt the size of a barn. Telling them it's a petticoat never seems to quell their concerns, and heteronormative gibberish aside as to whether or not you should give 2 walnuts over what a man thinks you should wear, going to meetups has 2 primary perks. 1, you get to hang out with a bunch of awesome people who love the same stupid thing as you do. And 2, you get to see a bunch of dresses you don't own. Which is great if the stock photo made it look like a potato. Some prints need to be seen in person to be appreciated, and participating in a local community is a lot more fun than becoming the local weirdo of insert tiny American town that no one knows about here. Been there, confused several cows, done that. This reporter being followed by a squadron of bovines aside, and wishing you all an absolutely stellar 2019, that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for watching Last Week Lolita News, and be sure to tune in next week when we tackle the tough questions like, what is this absolute unit? Will I ever pronounce this in French? And what are the odds that I will fight to the death to own this print? It has bunnies on it, and that means the answer is take no prisoners. Square up, bro. I will end you where you stand. This has been Tyler. You've been watching Scarfing Scarves, and before you decide whether or not the last several minutes have been wasted on watching some wordy prat produce the content equivalent of empty calories, you should know that this show is sponsored in part by Lolita Des, a secondhand Lolita and J fashion shop based in Japan with excellent English-speaking staff and an official sponsor for Last Week Lolita News. Lolita Des, when your closet is desperately lacking in basics, some salty reporter told you to buy a blouse, and you're pretty sure their torturous cadence will stop if only you'd comply. Buying will make the voices go away. They have brand. Link to their shop below, and to wrap things up with a big fracking bow, I'd like to thank my patrons for gathering in enough numbers that you can now be kicked out of a public space for assembling without a permit. Thank you for being fracking amazing, and if you'd like to join the unsettlingly growing number of people who seem to think this show was a good idea, you can head over to patreon.com/lastweeklolitanews for more reasons this channel is an insult to the tenets of common decency. I am not responsible for the ensuing discomfort that you are about to experience. Thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you next time.